got mutton. Does this make me as bad as those people that wear t-shirts of bands that they don't listen to? Since I don't eat mutton. Good afternoon, you guys. Today's date is, oh gosh, why do I keep doing this? Tuesday the 19th. Showing you guys this so that you guys know that I'm vlogging daily and uploading daily. You guys won't see this till the 20th. Come on, oh my goodness. You can kind of make it out there. It's Tuesday the 19th, take my word for it. We're gonna do a story time video for you guys. I'm gonna tell you guys about the time that someone tried to break into our apartment when both Sam and I, Bandit and Hercules, were home. There's some weird turns in the story. Sit back and relax. Okay, so this happened a couple years ago. It was probably early springtime. I wanna say it was in March because I remember I was excited that spring was coming. It was still really cold outside at night. I remember I was at work during the day. I think I got off at like around 5 in the evening. Sam was here at home. He was feeling sick, like he started feeling like he was, you know, getting a cold. And he went and saw the doctor while I was at work. By the time I got home, it was after 5 o'clock. He was already getting ready for bed because he had called out from work because he was supposed to go to work that night, but he had taken some NyQuil, and by like 5-6 o'clock he was already in bed. He was out. So for the rest of the evening it was just myself, Bandit, and Hercules. I think I probably ate something and watched a movie and just kind of kept myself busy, tried to stay quiet because I wanted to make sure that he was getting his rest. I want to say around 9 o'clock I set up the computer downstairs and started editing. And if you guys watched yesterday's video, the video for day 19, at the beginning of the video I'm sitting at the table, I'm talking about this cauliflower general so stuff that I'm about to make, and there's a window in the background. Where I was sitting in that window is where I was editing. So it's a pretty big window, and started editing around 9:30. Was doing that for about an hour, so that takes me up until 10:30. After I was done editing, took Bandit and Hercules out, and I remembered this very clearly. I opened the door. It was really cold. I remember telling them they need to hurry because it was cold, and I also remembered telling them don't go where it's dark, meaning stay where the porch light is shining. Luckily they didn't go very far. They stayed in this little gravel area. It's probably about between 6 to 8 feet in width. It's just a little gravel area right before you get to where we park our vehicles. So it's literally like right outside our front door. They did their business. It was cold, like I said. They came back in, and instead of going to bed, I went into the room next door. I was in there for about maybe a couple of hours. So 10:30 is when I finished editing, came upstairs. I think I want to say I was in the room next door until probably like 1:30 in the morning. Just kind of tinkering with my makeup, playing with makeup, watching YouTube videos, just kind of trying to shut my mind off from, you know, having to be at work and stuff like that. Was in there till 1:30, like I said. Ended up coming back into this room that I'm in now, laid down right there and put the headphones on, turned on the iPad, and started just kind of zoning out so that I could fall asleep. Was doing that for about 20 minutes, and this was probably like a little bit before 2 o'clock in the morning. Then I heard a crash downstairs, and I sat up, knocked off my headphones, and I was just listening, because things don't crash here at night, I feel like. And it was downstairs, I remember that. And while I was sitting there listening, I reached over and I turned on the light. I see Bandit and Hercules right in this little landing area, and they're at full, like, they're alert. Their ears are up, their tail is pointing straight up, the hair on their back is standing straight up, and I'm like, something's up, because they know sounds. Like, they know if, you know, somebody's driving by outside, they know that sound, they're not going to freak out. They know the apartment settling sounds, they're not going to freak out. They know, you know, next door neighbor, I don't think we had neighbors at the time on the other side of the wall, if they're making noise, they don't freak out. But this time they were like, pew, right at the stairs, looking down the stairs. And I'm like, what the heck? Because we have had incidences before when things kind of make sounds and we're like, that is not explainable. I just didn't feel like that was happening. So I woke Sam up and was like, something made sounds downstairs, something crashed downstairs. I don't remember exactly what I said. And he sat up and he was listening, and he got his gun, went to the top of the stairs right here and yelled down the stairs, is anybody down there? Say something now, leave now, I have a gun, I'm about to come down. Basically giving whoever may be in the apartment that's not supposed to be here a chance to leave. Sam told me, stay here, don't come down until I say that it's okay to come down, and have 911 ready, meaning dial it but don't hit it, you know, don't hit send just yet. So he went down halfway down the stairs and said the same thing again, is there anybody down there? I have a gun, you better leave, type of thing. So nothing, didn't hear any sounds of movement or anything like that, didn't hear anybody call out. So he went down the rest of the way, said the same thing, still nothing, and he went in halfway into the living room. And then he says, and I remember it clearly, he says, way to go, Winnie, you left the window open and a skunk came in. So okay, let that register because it's weird. So I'm like, what did he just say? Like, what? So I'm standing at the top of the stairs and I'm like, a skunk? And he says, yeah, a skunk came in. And I'm like, okay. So I put Bandit and Hercules into this room and I close the door and I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, the skunk is gone. I'm gonna make a sandwich. So I'm like, what is happening? Basically, I figure that it's okay to go downstairs. So I go downstairs and he's making his sandwich, and this is a little bit after 2 o'clock in the morning now. And he says, the window was open, the skunk took off. And I'm like, how did a skunk become part of this night? Like, what? Anyway, he's making his sandwich and I say, well, I didn't leave the window open. Why would I leave the window open? Why would I even have the window open? It's freezing outside. It's nighttime. I hate the cold. Why would I be sitting next to a wide open window editing when it's freezing outside? And he says, well, I don't know. The window was open. I don't know how it got open, but it was open and the skunk came in and he left. Thankfully, this skunk didn't spray the apartment, thank goodness. We closed the window and he's still making his sandwich and I'm like, I didn't open the window. I don't know how it got open. Did you leave it open? He's like, no, I didn't leave it open. I didn't even open it. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna go take a look around because that is weird. So he goes outside, takes a look around, and he sees handprints, you know, like if you're sliding a window open, like, you know, he sees handprints. And then he sees that the screen window is, or the screen of the window is pulled back. So he comes back inside and he says, well, maybe we should call the police because I see handprints and I see that the screen is pulled back. So we call the police, not an emergency because at this point, you know, the threat is gone, or so we kind of think. So we call them, they say, okay, we'll send somebody out. They'll be there in a couple of minutes. Excellent. So Sam says, well, I'm gonna go out and wait on the street because we live kind of far back from the street. And it's happened so many times if we order pizza or something for delivery, they don't find us right away because we're set back and they just drive by. So he says, I'm gonna go out to the street. Can you turn on the porch light? And I say, isn't it already on? And he says, no, it's off. Can you turn it on for me? And I'm like, I know I turned it on because remember when I told Bandit and Hercules, don't go where it's dark, stay right here in the light where I can see you. And I said, no, I know I turned it on and I know that I left it on. He goes to reach for the light and the switch is on, like it's in the on position. And he says it is on. So he goes out and he turns the light bulb. Like this light bulb needed to be turned to go back on. It wasn't just loose, like just kind of like maybe the wind after I don't know how many years kind of somehow jiggled it loose. It was like it needed to be turned. So bink, the light goes on, and we're just like, that's weird, because I know the light was on when I took Ben and Hercules out. So he goes out to the street, a police officer arrives, and we show him, you know, the area that was disturbed, and we also see that they got into, the person who tried to break in got into this little toolbox that we had in the back. Thankfully didn't have anything of value in it, just kind of like some screwdrivers, like mismatched screwdrivers, some weed whacking wire stuff, and they just wasted their time on this toolbox basically. And the police officer takes out his fingerprint kit. He actually dusted for fingerprints, just dusted, didn't find any fingerprints. He said that the person who did it wore gloves because there was nothing, and he dusted like those little tools in the toolbox, there was nothing on those, and gave us his card and said, you know, this is your report number or whatever. If you remember anything, or if something else comes up, or you notice anything, give us a call, we'll send somebody back out. So we're like, okay, be safe out there, officer. We like the Flagstaff Police Department. They've always been really, really nice. So he goes on his way, we come back in, and this is probably a little bit after 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm too jittered, or too rattled, whatever. I'm too whatever to go back to sleep, or to go to sleep. So we stay downstairs. Sam's wide awake at this point, and we just stay downstairs for the rest of the night, the morning, whatever. And I think we just watched like some movies. I think we watched The Office or whatever, but we stayed awake. And it wasn't until the sun, it started turning light outside, that we ended up coming back into the bedroom to go to sleep. Came upstairs, went to sleep, and Sam woke up a little bit before 8 o'clock because he wanted to go get his prescription, because remember, he went to the doctor. He wanted to go pick up his prescription before, you know, it got worse. And he went out to the car. He was out there for all of like maybe 30 seconds, and then he comes back in and he's like, Winnie. So I sit straight up again, and I go to the top of the stairs yet again, and I'm like, what? And he says, somebody broke into the car. So I'm like, and the thing about this is that when he was out there waiting for the police officer to show up, the first police officer to show up, he looked into the vehicles. Sam did. He looked into the vehicles, looked into the Jeep, looked into the car. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Everything seemed fine. Doors were still locked and everything. Vehicles were fine. So this time around, when Sam actually was gonna go somewhere in his car, he noticed that papers were kind of thrown around. His sunglasses were missing. His checkbook was out, and thankfully they didn't take any pages from his checkbook. We ended up canceling his checkbook because you can see the numbers, of course. Some subwoofers that he had just purchased like maybe a week ago, those were gone. His employment is employment so he can get in where he works, his badge, and the proxy card, that was just like thrown, like torn apart. And it was just like, he noticed these things because that's not how he keeps his car. Myself, on the other hand, I would not have known the difference. Ended up calling the police again. They came out. It was a different officer. They tested for fingerprints. There were no fingerprints, of course, and gave us another report number, and we were like, damn, what the heck is happening? Needless to say, later on during that day, we ended up going over to Cal Ranch. We purchased myself my very first gun. I'm not saying this to be like, pew, pew, I own a gun. I'm not trying to be like that at all. I'm just telling you guys this because we did end up taking, you know, steps to protect ourselves after this. Not that we were just like sitting ducks, but you know, we always locked our doors and we had our porch light on. We kind of noticed things whenever we come home at night, or you know, just kind of mental notes. But after this, it was like, okay, we need to step it up. That's what we did. And then we were also thinking, well, what would have happened if I was home by myself? Because remember, Sam was supposed to be at work that night. And I often think about, like, I was sitting next to that window that this person tried to come through. Were they waiting for me to go to bed? Were they standing on the other side watching me edit? Were they waiting for me to turn off the light and go upstairs? And then also the fact that that porch light was working when it was working, and then it wasn't because it was unscrewed. And then later on, the vehicle, like Sam's car, gets broken into. It's just so weird. And the only thing that I can think of is that we were probably being watched. This neighborhood, this general neighborhood that we live in, it's known for not being the best neighborhood, but I feel like our neighbors, like even the people on the other side of the wall, even our neighbor that lives in a separate house and the neighbor right here, we kind of just keep an eye out for each other. We know each other, we interact with each other when we see each other. It's not like we're strangers. But this general area that we live in, it has a reputation for not being the best area of town. But I don't feel that way with this street that we live on. It's just something that I think about. And like I said, we did end up taking precautions. Right before us, the neighbor that's 4 doors down, I guess they had a break-in incident where a person broke in, took their keys, went through their vehicle, took their vehicle keys, but didn't take the vehicle. And then after us, like maybe a week or 2 after us, further down the street, like so far that you probably have to drive to get there, there was actually a home invasion. Wife and husband, they were home, somebody broke in and held them at gunpoint for I think overnight or something, I'm not really sure. But it's just like you think about those things and you're just like, what could have happened if I was by myself, or if the dogs didn't hear it, or like if I didn't hear it. Or thankfully we're okay and we haven't had, you know, any incidences since then. Where's right here, Wood? We haven't had any incidences since then. We always make sure our porch light is on. We have, you know, things in place for our security now. But it's just like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, whoa. That happened a couple years ago. Kind of freaky now that I think, you know, really pick it apart. Story time. Hope you guys enjoyed this story. I'm sorry if this may have triggered somebody. That was not my intention. I just wanted to do something a little bit different other than the vlog or you know, the other type of sit down videos that I do. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.